Hello everyone, this is the movies I watched in December. As you probably know if you've watched my last video, I had COVID this month, so I had a huge opportunity to watch a lot of great movies I'd never seen before. I also tried to catch up on everything I hadn't seen yet in 2021 for my end of year best movies of the year list, which will probably come at the end of this week, because realistically for that video to come out at the right time, I'm gonna have to put it out soon, despite not having seen all the movies I wish I could have seen. But that's what happens when you get COVID at the end of the year and you can't go to the cinema. Thank you for any recent support anyone has given to the channel. It's really appreciated. The views have been pretty great, the likes have been pretty great, and if you feel like commenting on any of the videos, that would be greatly appreciated. But please, it's the first time I've said this in a while, please subscribe. Now that I'm kind of getting my bearings and I know what I want to do this year with this channel, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe if you are new around here. I can't really guarantee that I'll put out a video every week, but it should be every week. If it's not this week, there'll definitely be one next week, put it that way. But yeah, I'm just gonna try and be as consistent as I can be. That's a New Year's resolution, I guess. Yeah, the consistency is definitely my biggest flaw on YouTube. I have zero consistency on this platform, but hopefully this year will be the year that changes. And yeah, I'm just gonna go straight into the movies I watched in December. First of all, I watched House of Gucci, a movie I think I liked more than most people do. I thought this was great. I thought this was a very good movie. A lot of people are saying it's Oscar bait, and a lot of people are saying it's like a slog, like you're sitting there and you're just waiting for the movie to end. That was not my experience. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Yes, some people's Italian accents are, well, they're not great, are they? Some people, some people. But the rest were good. And if not good, they were at a level where it's not throwing me off. I wasn't thrown off by everyone's Italian accents. But there was, some culprits. I then watched Cruella, which is just a standard Disney movie. It's not very original. It's fine. It kind of falls flat on its face towards the end, if I'm honest. I thought it was a much better movie to begin with, and then for the second half I was just like, oh god. And some of the green screen in this movie is terrible, like terrible for a 2021 movie. I then watched La Haine, or La Haine, The Hatred in French. This movie's a classic, all-time great movie, 5 out of 5. It's one of the genuinely like one of the coolest movies ever. Like, you see a lot of people and they try really hard to make a cool movie and it comes off as cheesy or corny, or they're just doing loads of tropes that were cool in other movies. This is just a genuinely cool movie. And then in the build up to Christmas, I watched It's a Wonderful Life. I'm gonna say my favorite Christmas movie ever. I probably think it is. It's obviously that Die Hard and Home Alone. I know, not very original or anything, but it's between those three. Realistically, it's between that and Die Hard, actually. I do love Home Alone, but it's between that and Die Hard. It's Wonderful Life is great. Jimmy Stewart is great. The acting is great. The directing is great. It's a great movie. Then I watched Love Actually, because I was really in the Christmas spirit. Still great. Emma Thompson, GOAT. I then watched Batman from 1966, which I did a video on. So, go watch that video instead, because the whole video was basically a massive review of the movie. It's one of my favorite videos I've done, actually. I really enjoyed making that video. Then I watched The Power of the Dog, and I think Benedict Cumberbatch gave my favorite performance as a leading actor this year, other than Winston Duke in 9 Days. Go it. Love that performance. But no, Benedict Cumberbatch is sensational in this movie. Jane Campion directed a fantastic movie. This movie is great. It's comfortably the best Netflix release of the year, like by a mile. I thought the last act in particular in this movie was really well directed. Yeah, just the depiction Benedict Cumberbatch gives us of like fragile masculinity, and we kind of pick away at his character throughout the movie. Like at the beginning of the movie, if you even hear a door open, you're like petrified for everyone else in that room, because when Phil Burbank walks in the room, it's probably going to be a really horrible time for them. And by the end, you actually end up sympathizing for him, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, this movie is a journey, and it's a great one. I really liked this movie. I then watched Belfast, and to be honest, if this movie was about any other country or any other, you know, anything that wasn't Northern Irish, I probably wouldn't have even cared. If this wins Best Picture, that would be a very boring pick for Best Picture. It's a fine movie. I thought the child actor performance was great, and I thought the directing was good. Jamie Dornan's very good in this, but it's just a bit of a paint by numbers drama. It's good. Would I rewatch it if it was on telly? I probably would. At the same time, it wasn't the best movie of the year, so if it wins Best Picture, I would be quite disappointed. I then watched Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and then Deathly Hallows 1 and 2. I skipped Half-Blood Prince because I don't know if this is a hot take, but that's the worst Harry Potter movie and I couldn't be arsed watching it. Me and my girlfriend continued our Harry Potter spree. If anyone who watched the last What I Watched is wondering why in between these two I haven't watched Prisoner of Azkaban, that's because we actually just watched that just before we started. It's a great movie though. Love Azkaban. Big fan of Azkaban. Spider-Man No Way Home, which is another movie I've done a review of. That one is a spoiler review, so a non-spoiler review in a few seconds. I thought it was very good. I thought it lived up to the hype. I thought it was the darkest Spider-Man has ever gone, but at the same time, I thought the ending was emotional and quite touching, and we finally get a real, as I said, like a Spider-Man, emphasis on the man. He's not like Iron Boy, which is what Twitter were calling him, which is kind of mean. Yeah, he's not teenage Peter Parker. He kind of becomes a man. It's a coming of age movie almost. Go watch my spoiler review if you wouldn't mind, because yeah, I enjoyed making that one too actually. Then I watched The Worst Person in the World, which has a truly amazing magic mushrooms scene. It's a very, very poignant depiction of someone. The character's name's Julie. I don't even want to attempt the actress's name, who's great in this movie, but it's a difficult one to pronounce and I don't want to butcher her name. It's Renat, and then I don't know how to say her surname. I'm not even gonna try that. It's a very, very poignant depiction of a woman in her late 20s to early 30s who just hasn't got her life in order and she has no idea what the fuck she's doing. It's heartbreaking, it's gripping. The acting is really, really good in this movie. The pacing, it felt quite long is all I'll say, and I'll probably get a bit of flack for that. The movie moved a little too slow. I know that's probably gonna piss some people off, but I don't know, it felt longer than it was. That's my only issue. Maybe that's down to the pacing. Maybe I was just tired that day, to be honest. But yeah, the movie just felt very long for its runtime. I then watched Memories of Murder, which is an absolute masterpiece. That movie is amazing. One of the best crime movies ever. Anyone who knows me well knows that I am a sucker for a Korean film, and this is one of the best Korean films ever. I love Memories of Murder. I might even go into I might do a video on Korean film, and if I do, I'll talk about Memories of Murder quite a lot. That movie is like an absolute masterpiece. It's amazing. I recommend this movie as much as humanly possible. It's so fucking good. I then watched Trainspotting. It's a quintessential British movie, or Scottish movie. Sorry, people from Scotland. Yeah, an Irish person saying British about Scotland is quite ironic. Trainspotting. It's great. It's Trainspotting, like you. What can I say that hasn't already been said? I then watched Come On, Come On, which is Joaquin Phoenix's new movie. I thought it was good. Again, this is another movie where it moves so slow. Slower than Worst Person in the World. If anything, I now think I was harsh on Worst Person in the World, because Come On, Come On moves so fucking slow. The acting is amazing. Again, great child performance. Joaquin Phoenix is sensational in this movie. They feel like real people on the screen. They don't feel like characters. They feel like real people that you could meet in the street. The acting in this is sensational. The dialogue in this is great, but fuck me, this movie is slow. And then watched He's All That, which is absolutely fucking shite. And then after that, I watched Fallen Angels, which is a movie from Hong Kong. It's highly stylized. It's very cool. And it's my first venture into Hong Kong cinema, so obviously I'm not going to get it the first time. Visually, it's an absolute spectacle. I know there's this really great video, I'll link it in the description, talking about this movie and why it looks so amazing, because they used this crazy lens that I don't think has ever been used again in cinema. It was only used for this one film. It's like insanely wide shots in these small enclosed rooms. I'm not describing it very well. Visually, this movie is an absolute masterpiece. It's very odd. It's very odd for someone who is watching their first movie from Hong Kong. So, give me a few more movies from Hong Kong to, really immerse myself and get to know what those movies are like. And then I'll probably come back to Fallen Angels. I thought this was really fucking cool, but I found it quite hard to follow at points because it's a lot. To go from watching He's All That to Fallen Angels, like, come on, that's a big transition. I then watched Star Wars. This was probably on Christmas Day because I watch all the Star Wars movies normally on Christmas. Because I had COVID, I only watched the one Star Wars movie. It's, one of the best movies of all time. What more can I say about Star Wars? That's definitely something I'll cover in the future. But yeah, and after that I was like, oh God, I don't know if I can watch Empire. I'm depressed as it is, having COVID, stuck in my room eating Christmas dinner in bed. So I stuck on the Paddington movies. Paddington 1. What a movie. Oh, they are my new comfort movies. Paddington is amazing. I love that bear. I fucking love that bear. And then Paddington 2 somehow just takes it to a whole new level. I don't want to spoil anything from that movie because, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, if you are ever feeling sad and stick on a movie, stick on the Paddington movies. They will make you feel better instantly. They're amazing. But yeah, Brendan Gleeson is so good in the second movie, and the scenes in which Paddington and Brendan Gleeson interact, because I don't think the reason that they interact is actually in the trailer, so I'm not going to spoil how they even meet. Their dynamic is great. The villains in both movies, Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, are great. But yeah, I just love that bear. And the ending of Paddington 2, I hate to say it. No, I don't hate to say it. It's 2022. I cried at the end of Paddington 2. Yes, I'm a big softie. I cried at the end of Paddington 2. And those tears were earned. That is a great ending. Fuck, I love the Paddington movies. Then I watched Don't Look Up. The message behind this movie, in my opinion, kind of hits you in the face. It's a very obvious metaphor for climate change and Donald Trump, and they've accidentally kind of done a metaphor for COVID because it was filmed before the pandemic. I think this movie is so overhyped. It's Leonardo DiCaprio is great in this movie, and the bits of Chalamet that we get are great. He's a really over-exaggerated SNL character, but in a movie. I quite liked that. But this is not a movie I'll probably ever watch again. I don't think this is anything special other than a great DiCaprio performance. The message is obviously very poignant, but it wasn't done in a particularly clever way. In my opinion, I don't think this movie is as special as some people seem to say it is. I then had a bit of an action spree. I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance, one of the best 90s action movies of all time. And then I watched The Rock, one of the best 90s action movies of all time. Yeah, just two great movies. Two proper blockbuster, popcorn, big, massive, fizzy drink, massive telly, volume on 100, great movies. Just a fun Saturday night movie or Friday night movie, depending on what day you don't go out, I suppose. Two just wonderful action movies. I then watched Chinatown. Chinatown is one of the greatest films of all time, in my opinion. It's amazing. It's a masterpiece. I love detective noir movies. I love The Nice Guys. I love Chinatown. I love LA Confidential. I really like a good private investigator movie where he gets in over his head. I love it. I'm a sucker for it. And Chinatown is one of the best ones. Maybe the best one. I'm not sure. Jack Nicholson is incredible in this movie. The ending in this movie is so dark. It's still just great. It's so great. Chinatown is a sensational movie, one of the best ever. And then after that, I watched Serpico, and I was quite disappointed. I'd never seen Serpico before. I was expecting another all-time great, back-to-back all-time great movies in the same day. No, Serpico's good. Al Pacino is good. The plot, I know it's a true story, but the plot is very interesting. But maybe it's just because I watched Chinatown before, and it was yes, this is peak filmmaking. And it wasn't a huge drop-off or anything, but it is a step down. Serpico is a very good movie. I don't know why I'm being so harsh, I just thought I was going to see an absolute 5-star classic, and I did see a very good movie. So I am realistically just being pointlessly harsh on Serpico. Al Pacino's very good in Serpico. Yeah, the first half of the movie is quite slow, and then it definitely picks up in the second half whenever the investigation really starts. But I just found the first half a bit too slow. I think you're seeing a trend here. I don't like movies that drag. Does anyone? Like, if it's like a really slow, this is gonna sound like I'm describing Come On now, but if it's a really slow drama where we're like unpeeling layers of characters, which is literally what Come On is, but you know, done better than Come On, then I'm all here for it. But I'm not a fan of movies that really drag and they don't really take you anywhere too remarkable. After that, then I watched Rocky. You can't hate Rocky. Sure, it's not the greatest boxing movie ever filmed, but it's a really great sports movie. It's a great iconic character. Is Sylvester Stallone the greatest actor of all time? No. Is Rocky one of the most recognizable characters of all time? Yes. He's a great character, and yeah, that montage, like the montage, will always probably be the best montage in the history of film. It's so iconic. I then watched Red Rocket. Fuck me, this movie is amazing. I love Red Rocket. Sean Baker, I've never seen any of your films before, but I'm now going to watch all of them. Red Rocket is great. Simon Rex is amazing in this movie. He probably won't get nominated for an Oscar. I know I keep referencing the Oscars, which is kind of strange because I don't even watch the Oscars. I probably will this year though, just for a change. Simon Rex gives one of the best performances of the year. I love how the music choice in this film is just multiple renditions of Bye 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 by NSYNC, and each different version represents what's going on screen. And you almost never get music. So when Bye 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 comes on, you know something mental's about to happen. Except for, you know, obviously the opening of the movie. That's your standard movie opening. But every time after that Bye 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 comes on, something mental is going to happen. These feel like real people who live on the Gulf Coast, who are, you know, bottom of the social food chain. They don't really escape their small town. Everyone seems to know everyone in this town. And Sean Baker, a former male porn star turned drug dealer, has kind of come back with his head between his ankles. No, that's not a phrase. With his tail between his legs. His head between his ankles. That's not a phrase. With his tail between his legs, as he's just out of prison. Financially, he's fucked. So he kind of cons his way back up the ladder, the social ladder, and he just kind of leeches off everyone in his hometown, who he has to first try and get their trust to then try and leech off them. And I don't want to spoil this movie, but the ending is absolutely insane. The comedy in this movie is so dark, but it's so funny. This movie is hilarious. I'm so glad I got to see this movie, because I don't know if you know, if you watched the last video you would, that this was one of the movies that I still needed to see before I made my top 10 list of the year, because I had a feeling I was going to like it. I've been told I was going to like this movie. It's not really a massive spoiler. This movie is definitely going to make my top 10 movies of the year. And the last movie I watched was Parallel Mothers, a Spanish movie that I thoroughly enjoyed. I got way more invested than I thought I would. It's very Spanish. They really tackle elements of Spanish history in this movie that I had no idea about until I did a bit of research afterwards on like Spanish history, I suppose. I didn't really see the necessity for the Spanish history bits of this movie, because at the end of the day, it's a melodrama. Now, it's handled masterfully. It's a great melodrama, and the way we kind of find out pieces of information is done so well. I can't spoil anything, but basically you watch this movie, and in the first 15 minutes I was thinking this is gonna just be a paint by numbers, boring, almost like a soap opera, but as a movie. No, this movie is so much more than that. It goes so deep into these characters, and there's so many twists and turns. Parallel Mothers, great film. That is everything I watched in December. Thank you very much for watching. My top 10 movies of the year should be out later this week, hopefully. I have some plans for this month. I have a few videos I want to put out this month, actually. I have a lot of ideas for this month in particular, so yeah, I'm very excited to put those videos out. Thank you very much for watching. If you've made it through to this point, you're an absolute legend for bringing the watch time up for me. Thank you. And yeah, that's about it. See you later this week. Cheers.